let's get started. Please, if you could take us into our first story of the Karnofsky family and Louis Armstrong.
Glad to. All right. So the Karnofsky family, they were a Jewish family from New Orleans who played a crucial role in the growth and development of, as we said, Louis Pops Armstrong. And our theme today is, why did Louis Armstrong wear the Star of David, for our first story? So Pops is considered the father of the jazz idiom. That's because he was an artistic revolutionary who signaled to the world the arrival of the great soloist in jazz. His singing, scatting, and cornet performances were so powerful and swingingly resilient that big bands around the nation created arrangements for their horn sections based on his style and his joyous sense of life. The great Miles Davis once said, "No Pops, no me." So no Pops, no jazz. And in fact, why don't we get a taste of early Pops and his greatness and how he loosened up American singing and rhythmic feel on a song titled Dinah.
Oh, Dinah, is anyone finer in the state of Carolina? If there is, and you know, show to me. Dinah, the Dixie eyes blazing, we love the city gazing to the eyes of Dinah Lee. Baby, every night, one eye, shake with fight, cause my dynamite, change your mind, Bobby, did you want to China, baby? I'll have no China, oh, baby. Oh, Dinah. Dinah, oh, Dinah, oh, baby, Dinah, Dinah, oh, baby, every night, well, oh, so that if you want to do that, baby, I'd have a no yeah.
I think that deserves an expression of Pops himself. Oh, yes. So, why did Pops wear the Star of David around his neck for most of his life? I'll tell you why. Gratitude and appreciation. When Louis Armstrong was a young boy when he was a young boy living with his grandmother in the 3rd Ward of New Orleans, he was shown warmth and kindness by a Jewish Lithuanian family, the Karnofskys. They hired young Louis at the age of 7 to help with their junk and coal business. As a laborer, he'd get up early to deliver coal from the top of a delivery wagon with one of the family's sons, Morris Karnofsky. In his biography, in his own words, Armstrong wrote, "Working for these fine people, I learned to be an early riser just like them. I noticed that they believed in being on the move, and I wanted to be just like them. They would get ready for work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was right there along with them, up early in the morning making hay while the sun shined." He also recalled that, quote, "the Karnofsky boys were all fine young men, wonderful dispositions. The whole family had that fine warmth for all their Negro help." Now, at dinner time, Mrs. Karnofsky would invite the young Armstrong to have dinner with the family, and Armstrong developed a taste for Jewish food that continued many years later into his own home in Queens. Biographer and jazz critic Gary Giddens, in his book, Satchmo, The Genius of Louis Armstrong, quotes Armstrong saying, "I still eat their food, matzahs, and my wife Lucille keeps them in her bread box." A sensitive soul, Armstrong noticed that many of the Jewish immigrants on the 400 block of South Rampart Street were mistreated by others who identified as white. "I had a long admiration for the Jewish people," he said, "especially for their long time of courage, taking so much abuse for so long." But his reason for wearing the Star of David went beyond mutual sympathy and struggle. "One day," Armstrong wrote, "when I was on the wagon with Morris Karnofsky, we were on Rampart and Perdido Streets, and we passed a pawn shop, which had in its window an old, tarnished, beat-up B-flat cornet." Armstrong continued, "It only cost $5. Morris advanced me $2 on my salary. Then I put aside 50 cents each week from my small pay. Finally, the cornet was paid for in full. Boy, I was a happy kid." The Karnofskys encouraged him to play and also to sing. According to Armstrong, Ester Kaufman, the mother of the home, often sang songs such as Russian lullabies. "When I reached the age of 11, I began to realize it was the Jewish family who instilled in me singing from the heart," Armstrong recalled. "They encouraged me to carry on." So that's why Louis Armstrong wore the Star of David.